Good afternoon and welcome to the fourth episode of my mental health podcast series, Wallflower Findings. My name is Arazim and I am super excited for today's episode. This episode is actually my favorite one that I've done so far, and the first one. Not that I haven't liked the rest, but I was particularly excited organizing and putting all my thoughts together and getting the evidence for it. But anyway, alrighty, something kind of random a little bit. When I first moved to the US, I was 6 or 7 years old and in the second grade and didn't know a lick of English for a while. So whenever it was library day, the book that I would often pick up is a book called Zoom. It just so happens that this was a picture book because, I didn't know how to read at the time. And the first page was this very close-up image of something. I couldn't tell what it was. And with each page that you turned, the focus of the image zoomed out a little bit more until you saw the full thing at the end. I now like to think of this series being very similar to that structure. To tell you the truth, I can't even remember what the final image was or the beginning image. But point is, everything in this podcast is connected. I'm just kind of zooming out the picture a little more with each episode in a way. Another thing I realized is looking back throughout my entire educational career, elementary school through college, I believe it can all be summed up in 4 different categories. So we have our facts, homework, quizzes, and tests. So we learn the facts, we practice remembering them, we take the test, and we move on. It's kind of strange actually, because it just so turns out that one of the most basic and most effective principles of psychology is learning through association. So what good are all of those facts, half or more, which we forgot about after graduation, if we don't know how to use them in the world we live in today? At least for me, I know I had to try super hard in order to study and get good grades, and even when I thought I'd studied my butt off, there were times where I felt my grades could have been better. Actually, more particularly speaking, I absolutely loathed math growing up with a passion. And it wasn't until I got to college and took applied business calculus of all things that for once in my entire life, I actually not only just understood but enjoyed the material that was being taught. And not just any material, I'm talking like integration, differentiation calculus, limited functions. It all made sense because I was associating all of that math with business world applications, and I surprisingly finished the class with a low A. I honestly still don't understand why we're waiting until much later to make sense of everything we're taught. But anyways, point is, back then I was so focused on learning the facts that I didn't realize most of what I was doing was overloading my mind with information without really knowing the value of it. Aside from that, and what may be even worse, is that you could say I was slightly obsessed with not failing. As a matter of fact, just the thought of failing gave me anxiety, and today I realize just how twisted and backwards that way of thinking really is. So you'll notice I will often connect new points with previous things I've said because, like I said, it's by associating all of the facts that I'm able to show you how it's all connected and how you're in the center of it all. Getting into today's episode, now that it's been established how important it is for you to realize the significance of your existence and the value of your attention, and then how to recapture that attention knowing how it works, brings me now to the actual physical steps you can start taking once you find yourself in a position to want to start making small changes. And again, that's towards anything other than where you're currently at. The most important part here is it's once you decide the time has come. The good thing is that these are super, super simple steps that are backed by both scientific and practical evidence once you apply them to your own routines. Very simply, these 2 things are how to create or change a behavior, and 2, my absolute favorite, is the power of compassion. Alright, so this is a quote. When you know how to create tiny habits, you can change your life forever. This was said by B.J. Fogg. He's a PhD director in Persuasive Tech Lab at Stanford University. And actually, the more I research all of this, the more I think I would totally love to get a degree in behavioral or cognitive science. But anyway, so I need to stress really quick that the key is that it is in fact much better to start out with smaller, more attainable goals, especially if you don't have any huge goals in mind yet. And even for those that already do have big goals, remember that the secret to any kind of success is breaking down the process into tiny behaviors you can control. And I cannot stress this enough. Having a sense of control in what you're doing is a motivator itself. And this is another reason why the smaller the adjustment, the bigger the impact in the long term. The first tip is to pick a behavior to bring into your life that you want to have. So this is not one that you should have or you think you should have, but the ones you want right now. I love the analogy that Dr. Fogg used when he compared the process to planting a tiny seed. He says, plant the seed in the right spot and it will grow without coaxing. Much like vegetables that tend to randomly sprout in gardens. So in other words, look at what you want to change. No matter how big your goal may be, break it down into tiny behaviors and put them in the right spot. The right spot he's referring to is right after something you're already doing now. So again, we're starting out small. Let's say do 2 push-ups or cut smoking or floss your teeth or drink 2 cups of water. Literally anything in this nature. And it doesn't have to be this easy if you're already somewhat disciplined. I'm just saying you can literally start with something this easy because the process is the same way. Dr. Fogg explains there are 3 things that have to happen in order to cause a behavior. 1, some level of motivation. Again, it can be super small. 2, the ability to do it. And 3, a trigger or a call to action to do it now. And that actually turns out to be your existing behavior. I'll explain that in a sec. So an example of mine is I used to suck at drinking water, well knowing that drinking water is the single most important thing you can do during the day for your body. Sometimes it's still this way, especially depending on how busy I am at work, but it definitely is something that I keep in mind all the time. So since I sucked at drinking water, I started out by buying a liter bottle of water at the gas station. I told myself, I'm like, all right, you're going to drink an entire one of these bottles after every set you do at the gym. For me, each set can last anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the day and if I just so happen to zone out in the gym or whatever. And so that's what I did. And after finishing each bottle of water, I rewarded myself with a happy dance, or I would give myself a fist bump, or tell myself I'm awesome. Yeah, I know I'm weird, but I do it because it works. Even if I was finished with my set and had to force half the bottle down, that's what I did. So here I had some motivation to do this because deep down I know how important water is. I obviously have the ability to drink water, and then my trigger, number 3, is my existing behavior. So in this case, I chose was after doing each set at the gym. Now, after practicing that every time I went to work out, now I regularly drink anywhere from 3 to 4 liters of water during each workout without even thinking about it. By the way, for me, that's well over half of what I'm supposed to be drinking a day for my goal, which is perfect for my busy work days. The example Dr. Fogg used himself was deciding to do 2 push-ups after every time he went pee in the bathroom. So he said that he could barely even do push-ups. He considered himself more a nerd than anything else. He said within a couple of months, he was doing 70 push-ups a day. So again, the key here is to make the change or behavior small enough to where if you do it consistently and increase it over time, it slowly starts to become an automatic response. So again, it's planting that seed without coaxing it. In fact, when it comes to long-term behavior change, simplicity is the biggest factor, not motivation. Whatever it is you could be training for or are training for, it's not for your ability to do the task, but it's the work is to turn that behavior into a habit. So in doing all of this, something really important to remember is that revision is part of the method. If something's not working, don't blame yourself. That's wasting time. Just try something else and practice that as long as it works in the direction you want it to go. Be flexible, adjust, and adapt. Again, the smaller the adjustments that you make, the easier it will be to let something go if needed and put something else in its place. And lastly, have fun with it. You can be serious about it and still make it playful and light. So I've already mentioned that motivation isn't a big factor in changing long-term behavior. However, generally speaking, motivation does serve as fuel for our actions. The more motivated we are, the more likely we are to act or to do something about whatever it is that motivates us. I listened to a talk given by Mel Robbins, who is a married working mother of 3, an Ivy educated criminal lawyer, and one of the top career and relationships experts in America. According to Mel, there are 3 things that really help amp up motivation on any level, and those 3 things are social incentives, immediate rewards, and measuring your progress. So, social incentives. According to research done by social psychologist Dr. David McClellan of Harvard University, the people you habitually associate with determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. In the words of motivational speaker Jim Rohn, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The people you spend the most time with shape who you are. They determine what conversations dominate your attention. They affect which attitudes and behaviors you are regularly exposed to. And you eventually start to think like they think and behave like they behave. The thing about that is, if the dream in your heart and your potential may be bigger than the environment in which you find yourself, sometimes you have to get out of that environment to see that dream fulfilled. In this case, it would be wise to find and associate with people who possess the behavior that you want to instill in yourself. So again, you turn into the people that you hang around the most is basically what this says. Number 2 is immediate reward. So you're going to tell yourself in some way that you're awesome. And it sounds silly, but it really works. After doing the new behavior, just say, I'm awesome, or I got this. Literally anything along those lines, but mean it. I definitely don't mean reward yourself in the sense of going to a bar or buying something new. Because remember that simplicity is key across the board in every aspect of this process. Number 3 then is measuring your success. So the fact of the matter is, thinking about it is absolutely the first step, but now we're trying to bring those thoughts to life. The first way to measure progress is through visuals, like make a graph or simply write down the adjustments you're making and put them somewhere you can see it on a regular basis. The more you see it, the more you train your mind to focus on it, which again all influences your decisions and actions. Same goes for affirmations. It's simpler, but it definitely works. Voicing your thoughts and goals is the easiest way of starting to bring them to life. Remember that you're now placing your full focus on your new goals, and that requires work. The good thing is, you are free to go at your own pace, but no matter what, I guarantee you your level of work has a direct impact on your results. And there is one major thing that prevents most people from taking action of any kind. Could you maybe tell what that is? It's fear. It's so easy to stay within our comfort zones because we know that what we can expect from the things we're already doing. However, for that same reason, we don't allow ourselves to seek new environments that rattle us and forces us to explore and try new things. It's very much like a shark. A shark will never outgrow the environment in which it lives. Same goes for us. That is because any kind of fear induces inaction, while the thrill of the game induces action. You will not have the thrill of the game if you're not surrounded by people and things that inspire you to grow. It's as simple as that. This is honestly also why failure in school is such black and white thinking. In school, we're conditioned to almost fear failure. or at the very least do our best